everybody, it's Elisa DiLorenzo.
And Tony DiLorenzo.
And we're here today. You're driving in the car with us. We're being all smart and safe, so all hands-free. But we want to talk to you about the fact of how you can make the most of drive time to really build your marriage. As you can see, we are in an empty car, except for the two of us, no kids back there. Our kids have just been dropped off to spend the weekend here leading up into Easter with their grandparents. So here we are, the car is quiet. And this is when you really need to take advantage of the opportunities that you're given, because so often the two of you will find yourself in this situation. One person's driving and the other person, presumably, I'm going to pick up Tony's because it's down here, but the other person is looking something like this, right? Eyeballs down, not a lot of engagement, really kind of squandering the opportunity that the two of you have to connect.
Right. And what we have found is this time together, be it if you're headed to a date night out, be it if, like us, we have this opportunity where we dropped off the kids and we have some time together. We've done drives, intentionally gone out on drives. Whatever it may be, this is opportune time for you guys to connect emotionally. But you got to make it happen, because if you don't, then like Lisa said, one is looking at the phone and the other one is driving, and you have the music on and it's quiet.
And I've heard from a lot of coaching clients too, because we talk about what happens when you're in the car, and being in the car can actually be kind of uncomfortable, because you're here and it's like, what do I say? How do I get the conversation started? I don't even know what to talk about anymore. And so we want to actually resource you and talk about a couple of different resources that you can use to not make this car time so awkward, and to really have a plan. Because when you have a plan and you can be intentional about it, it's so much easier than sitting here going, I don't know what to say. What do we talk about?
And this is stuff that we do too. Like, what we share are things that we also have to do in our own marriage to be intentional and make the most of this time. Because even though we've been married 20 years, there are still times when we can go about our day and not even think about this. And then there are times where we are super intentional about this time together as we're driving, and what really can happen in that. The sparks start flying, the new ideas come out. We even learn new stuff about each other because we were being intentional about it.
So one of the things that we hear from a lot of couples is, I don't even know what to talk about anymore, right? Like, how do we get past just talking about, like, oh yeah, this one needs shoes, or don't forget we're having this, we're going out to dinner with friends, on Friday night. So there's a book that Tony and I wrote. It's called Connect Like You Did When You First Met, 101 Proven Questions for Couples. And we actually, when we go on long drives, specifically, when we know we're going to have significant amounts of time in the car, we'll pull this book out. It's also available on Kindle. But we'll pull the book out. The reason I say Kindle or on your phone is that's the only time we want you looking down at your phone when you're actually connecting with one another. But we'll just flip to a page and open it up and say, okay, if our marriage was a sport, what sport would it be and why? That's actually one of the questions in the book.
And we had friends recently go to Vegas. They had the book, they picked up the book, and they had a great time, because that's from where we are in San Diego to Vegas is about 5 hours, 4.5, depending on your speed. And they said it was so wonderful for them to be able to open up that book and ask each other questions, because they work together, and a lot of their conversations go right to work. And they even said it, they go, we can talk the entire trip just about work and not go deeper than that. And they said the book and the questions in there allowed them to dive deeper into their emotional intimacy, and spurned off like some other questions that they had that allowed them to go deeper.
And the neat thing too is, it was actually the husband that was telling us how great the experience was.
Right.
Let me be really clear there. He was sharing with us that some of the questions, it was just kind of like a yes or a no or a quick answer.
Right.
And he said, Elisa, some of the questions we actually got into, and we had like a 45-minute discussion, willing discussion. Let me be clear that it wasn't just like, oh my gosh, we're talking about this for 45 minutes. It was, wow, we haven't really talked about this in a long time, and it just led to more in-depth conversation and connection, and they really enjoyed it. It's a tool that they're now taking with them when they travel.
Right.
Another tool, and Tony and I actually pulled this back out again this past October for I can't wait to buy this book, my husband and I need this. Absolutely. Carly,
grab it.
You want to give them the website?
Yeah, so if you're interested in getting connect like you did when you first met, you can go to connectlikeyouDid.com. You can pick that one up there, or you can go to our site, youre.com, hit shop, and we can send you an actual physical copy as well.
And having the physical copy is nice because then you can just kind of flip around and figure out, some of the questions deal with finances, and some of the questions deal with sex, and some deal with dreams, and we've got questions in there about camping and about kids, and you name it, we cover it. And the other resource that we want to talk to you guys about is called 19 Questions to Amazing Sex. Tony and I pulled this out again this past October on our 20th wedding anniversary. We're driving down the coast in a convertible that he had rented for the day, and we pull this out and we start going, okay, you know what, we talk about our sex life a lot, right? Like, it's what we do. We talk about sex, but we're known for talking about sex. And yet there were questions on there that we haven't actually talked about since we first wrote it a couple years ago, right? And so we're going through, and here's the thing. Where you are today is not where you're going to be in 6 months or in 2 years or in 10 years when it comes to your sex life. So you need to constantly be revisiting, not constantly, but regularly, be revisiting the conversations that you're having about your sex life. And when we did this exercise together, it was great because it shed light on a few different areas. One of the questions is, how can we be romancing each other during the day in anticipation of sex that night? Well, that gets to the heart of how Tony and I each like to be romanced, and interestingly enough, we look nothing alike. We have different needs, right? We have different expectations, and so using this tool, talking about, desire and how to express desire, talking about all of these different things resourced us, and actually, I will tell you, it got a little hot and steamy in the car, right? Because all of a sudden we're digging into our sexual intimacy in the car, like screaming down the freeway, going along the coast, beautiful day, but we're like, wow, we're just getting deeper in this. And it's amazing when you have the conversation and you're just talking about it, where it's not all this emotional weight of, what do you mean, and what about this, and let's talk about it in the bedroom right before we have sex. Don't use these questions in your bedroom right before you're having sex. Like, let me be...
Take the time, like we're doing right now. Go for a drive. Maybe you're going out on your date night, or after your date night, instead of going, because the 19 questions to amazing sex, that might not be one that you want to sit around with people in other booths around you, but in your car, this is the greatest thing about doing these questions in your car. You're in an environment where it's you two being able to discuss this and not having concern if somebody else hears you or not. And like Lisa said, with the 19 questions for us, it opened up some things that we weren't even we realized in our own marriage, and you can take that and then,
sorry, didn't mean to drop you guys.
And then you can take that and now apply it. So if you want the 19 questions, that's a free resource we have on our site. You can go to oneextraordinarymarriage.com/19 questions, print that out, start talking about it, grab Connect Like You Did When You First Met. That's 101 questions. We even throw another 50 bonus questions at the end because we had so many when we wrote it that we were like, let's just throw all these in. So you guys can really use that, not just on one drive. It's not, if you answered one question, you would have 151 drives that you would have another question to ask your spouse. And I'm telling you, if you want to stay connected to your spouse, where you take your emotional intimacy to a deeper level, which allows you to connect and be vulnerable and open and allow yourself to have the sexual intimacy you desire, you gotta start asking questions more than just what's for dinner, how are the kids, what are we doing this weekend? Believe me, you have to. It's gonna be a challenge, and we get challenged ourselves. We got full schedules. We got a 14 and an 11-year-old. We've gone through different stages of life with them and ourselves, and are still growing through that, and have learned and continue to learn that if we want to have a marriage that's extraordinary, we got to go deeper than those questions that I said before. So we hope this helps you guys.
Have a great day and make the most of drive time.
Make the most of drive time. Love you guys. Take care.